Good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome to this celebration of life for our dear beloved Barbara Allyn Boucher. We're here today to celebrate life eternal, for we know that is not the human expression of us that is our divine reality, that the reality of us is much, much greater than what can be contained in this temporary vessel. And we know that that reality of Allyn is permeating every dust mote, every cell in our bodies, right here, right now. Let us become still as we allow the words of Rumi, chosen by Allyn for this day, to wash over us. On the day I die, when I'm being carried toward the grave, don't weep. Don't say, she's gone, she's gone. Death has nothing to do with going away. The sun sets and the moon sets, but they're not gone. Death is a coming together. The tomb looks like a prison, but it is really release into union. The human seed goes down into the ground like a bucket into the well where Joseph is. It grows and comes up full of some unimagined beauty. Your mouth closes here and immediately opens with a shout of joy there. We invite to the lectern Tim Thomas.
Allyn had two older brothers. I'm the younger of the two brothers. There's a sign on the mantle in Allyn's bedroom that says the following: "My goal in life is to be the person my dog thinks I am." If that was her goal, Allyn succeeded. From her birth in 1951, Allyn has been a lover. While very young, she developed a deep affection for animals. She would pretend that she was a horse, clomping around the house on all fours, making very convincing horse noises. She could imitate our dog's bark so perfectly that we were often confused as to whether we were hearing Allyn or our beloved pet. Her love for members of her family also emerged when she was quite young. Her respect for our older brother, Maddox, from whom you'll hear later on, her respect for him was so strong that she decided to publicize her admiration long before she had learned to spell. She grabbed a crayon and wrote on the walls in our house, "Maddox the Grat." She very quickly learned she had misspelled the word great, but she did not retreat from her conviction that she had an exceptional brother. Allyn maintained a lifelong love of dogs, cats, and horses. In the numerous dog shows she went to with Sid, Allyn's succession of wonderful dogs won numerous titles at the highest levels in obedience, rally, agility, and my favorite, the Canine Good Citizen title. My wife Carol and I saw Allyn show one of her dogs in competition once, and I have never seen such a powerful bond between animal and human. It was a display of love, the kind of love that drew us all to Allyn's beautiful spirit. She continued this love and care by becoming active in dog rescue. Her spiritual awareness of nature and God's creatures is reflected, along with her sense of humor, in poem number 43 from her recently published book, The Alchemy of Life. This poem is as follows. It's spring. The relentlessly beautiful bird is commanding non-stop that all the earth listen to him and engage his being. His cooperative policies are fascinating to the gods. I can see that they are awestruck at his song. He barely draws breath before he sings again, and nothing monotonous at that. He rolls and rolls through infinite variety, sitting confidently alone. But at this rate, he won't be alone long. Allyn was smart. In fact, I don't think she ever knew how smart she was. She received a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and a Master's in Public and Private Management at Birmingham Southern College, but far more important than her formal education was her sensitivity and her awareness of the wonder and mystery of life and of people. Having experienced some distress in her life, she sought the opportunity to help others in distress. She became a registered nurse to care for those in need. One of her jobs as a nurse was giving care, medical attention, and counseling to troubled adolescents. This was a job that took a toll on her spirit because she understood their traumas on a profound level. She was a caring, loving friend. Many of her closest friendships were developed during her 25 years working in risk management at Pro Assurance, and I know many of those friends are here today. After her retirement, she continued to give of her generous spirit by volunteering at the Crisis Center, Comfort Care, and Unity Church. Even when she was stricken with multiple system atrophy, making travel and movement difficult, she persisted in these volunteer efforts. One of the events in Allyn's life for which I am most grateful is her marriage to Sid Boucher. Sometimes when a serious illness, such as multiple system atrophy, invades a family, the spouse of the victim can withdraw or even become neglectful. Not Sid Boucher. Sid has been with Allyn every step on this challenging path, even buying a motorhome so she could continue to travel and live life to the fullest during her last years. He attended to her personal care in every detail throughout the day, every day for years. In Sid's profound devotion, we see the eternal truth that love is an action word. A great source of solace and truth for Allyn was music. In recent years, this has been one of the strongest bonds that she and I enjoyed. When her disabilities made it difficult for her to attend concerts, I would go to her home and we would have our own concerts, bringing up wonderful performances on YouTube of piano concertos by Rachmaninoff and Brahms and the Bach's St. Matthew Passion, and various works for two pianos that we heard our mother practicing when we were growing up. When we heard words such as the melodic Scaramouche that our mother played, the combination of nostalgia and the depths of musical expression was often overpowering, bringing both of us to tears. There are many things I will miss about Allyn, because in a world full of followers, Allyn was very much her own person, unique in the best sense of the word. But now her spirit is free, and we are consoled by the words of Rumi. Why are you here, soul? Arise. Fly, O my soul bird, fly to your primordial home.
we invite friend Lulu Richardson to the lectern.
It is my honor to read this poem. It was one of Allyn's favorites and by one of her favorite poets. It's called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are headed home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Love you.
Per Allyn and Rumi's instructions, I will try not to weep. But if I do, let it be known that it's at least in part because of the joy I've had in the privilege of knowing her. My Aunt Allyn was a seeker. She was a seeker of love and light and beauty. She sought magic and joy and the answers to all the questions in the cosmos. And one of her great joys was talking to other people who were seekers. She was generous with her time and willingness to talk to people on their journeys of self-exploration. As a result, I called her often to talk about complicated subjects like love and life and the afterlife and self-awareness and forgiveness and the overwhelming power of the creative arts. She supported me relentlessly, unconditionally, and passionately, and that helped to shape me into the woman that I have become. When I would call her to discuss something that was weighing on me or confounding me or hurting me, she stayed on the phone with me until we had come to a conclusion about how I could press forward and hold my head high and love myself. At the end of those conversations, she always said to me, "You're so wise. How are you so wise at your age?" And I never tired of hearing her say that to me. It filled me with so much pride. Upon reflecting on these conversations, I always realized that whatever wisdom I had shown had come directly from her. As you all know, she radiated wisdom. She was saturated with it, and I could soak it up from her and learn from her, not even knowing that I was doing so until I felt confident in my decisions. Her own quiet wisdom always led me to chase joy and love and self-acceptance. She was my guide, and she took great pleasure in being my guide because that's how she was. She found great joy in helping others and in showing compassion. In the last few months, it became difficult for Allyn to converse. So when I called her, I often read poetry to her. One night after reading her a poem, she was trying to say something to me, but I couldn't understand her. And finally, I understood that she was saying she wanted to read me a poem, the one about geese, which you just heard Lulu read. I didn't know if she had the ability to read still, but sometimes she had miraculously good days, so I said, "I would love to hear you read that poem." She opened her poetry book, but she couldn't see what was written on the page, and she was so frustrated. She said to me then, remarkably clearly, "I really wanted to share this with you." That's the thing. She had been cared for months, and people had talked at her for months, and people had loved on her for months, and she wanted to give a gift to someone else. She wanted to comfort me through poetry. But she couldn't read, so she was beside herself. I said to her, I have the poem in front of me. What if I read you a line and then you recite it back to me? So we did that for the whole poem. I read a line and she repeated it back in her slurred, unintelligible, beautiful speech. That Herculean effort to recite a poem for me is one of the greatest gifts of my life. The last time I saw her, she still took time to ask about whether my husband was working too hard, how was my dog Cody, what were my life dreams. She cared so much for all of us, for everyone that she loved, and she gave so much to us, and there is no greater gift in life. The last day I saw her face to face was in August. Our goodbye at the end of that visit was the hardest of my life. I said to her, you and I will wander the cosmos together, you know that, right? And she said, in her distinctive southern drawl, I'll see you there. She continues to give us gifts. I feel her in the sky when I'm brave enough to raise my face to look for her. I feel her in the rain and in the clouds of autumn because she loved those melancholic expressions of the emotional earth. I feel her in the swans by the lake and in the Milky Way overhead. I believe her spirit is big enough to be found in all these things at once. I believe that her spirit was so big that it needed to be released from this life in order to expand to its broadest form, to fill the universe with all the love and empathy and wisdom that she carried in her heart during this life on earth. It's hard for me and for all of us letting go of her in this life. But as my nephew Solomon said this week, her blood is still in our hearts. He is so right. I feel her in my heart right now. I always will. And one day, if I'm lucky, I will see her in the cosmos as promised. Until then, her blood will be in my heart. I'd like to leave you with some of her words of wisdom from her beautiful book. Breathe, be still and silent. Let the rich wealth of the truth drift over you. Let it wash you in the pristine love that you are. Let it yield to you all that you need, all that you ask for, all that you see, all that would serve you. Let it bring you freedom from disease, struggle, and poverty of every kind. Let it comfort you. Let it guide you. Let it deliver wisdom at every turn. Let it be, for that is what is before us, to allow the handsome truth to be.
Thank you. As Allyn just reminded us, breathe. Let's just take a breath now. And if you're willing, join me in closing your eyes. And just experience for a moment the essence of Allyn. The essence described by those who have courageously stood here and shared their experiences and those who are yet to come. And another breath. As one of the leaders here at Unity of Birmingham, it's my pleasure and my privilege to honor the ways that Allyn shared with us here at Unity of Birmingham. We heard Tim tell us that this was one of the places where she shared her gifts. All the other places she shared, we were so blessed to have her with us. There's an intense training and bonding that takes place among Unity of Birmingham's prayer chaplains. Many of our current and former prayer chaplains are here with us in this room today. Allyn was one of our prayer chaplains, and as our leaders are very fond of telling us, once a prayer chaplain, always a prayer chaplain. So Allyn continues as a prayer chaplain for each of us, which means that her heart and her mind are open to hold for each of us the wholeness that is our divine essence. Allyn also shared with us. She was a member of a group that has become known as the Thursday Night Mystics. It's a group of people who gather together on, guess what, Thursday night, and share from the mystical awareness of themselves. The definition of a mystic is someone who needs not an intermediary to know that they are the creation and they have instant access to the divine. That's the definition of a mystic. So if you know that and you know you don't have to go through anyone else, then welcome to mysticism. The Thursday Night Mystics bonded so closely that they have now closed their group so that they continue that energy. And that energy that Allyn brought to that group continues there, continues to be honored and experienced. Long after the time that Allyn had given up driving, according to Sid, a little bit after she could have given up driving, Allyn was still coming to Unity of Birmingham and greeting visitors by telephone and in person, helping them find what they were looking for in what we call first voice volunteers. She also participated with a group of women who gather once a month on a Saturday. We call ourselves Women of Vision, and she shared her vision with us there so powerfully. And she participated in adult education for as long as she could. On Sunday mornings, she was an active part of the discussion on Sunday mornings. Allyn, we miss you, and we're very, very grateful that who and what you are continues with us as we celebrate your life here today. Please turn in your programs to the responsive reading. This is excerpted from The Soft and Malleable Part of the Universe is Mine, written by Allyn. If we are wise, we breathe in deeply and drink in the dark and the light. And we learn to watch and be patient. If we are restless and young, our hearts may deceive us, and we may think that we can outrun the earth's revolutions and hold the passage of time in our palm. But we cannot do that. And eventually, we will see. Eventually, we all will see that. And then we will be where we want to be, which is just where we are. We invite to the lectern Allyn's friend and also chaplain, Joan Tufts.
This poem is from her book, Living with Nothing and No One Against Me. Entering holy ground, seeking nothing but everything which is with me at all times. I present myself at this portal. The alchemy I put to active use has left me whole, refreshed, and has successfully transmuted my chains of ignorance into the feather likeness of wisdom and truth. The dimension of darkness that was with me for so long has now been excused. My heart has been unleashed, and I can breathe. I am the answers. I know this path. It is carved in my soul. I know the grace. It has sustained and upheld me for eons. I am invited to the feast that is set before me, and I am blessed in unimaginable ways. I tread lightly over this terrain of love, for my feet are held and caressed by the angel hands that have been with me from the beginning. I do not have to muzzle my laughter or joy at the magnificence of this time. I have been drawn through the eye of the needle into the fullness of myself. The dark is subsiding, and in its place, sanctuary. Serenity is mine for the taking. My assignment now is to enjoy that which I have and that which I am, and to simply allow my unfoldment in the love of God. Come, let us play innocently in this unspeakable field of light. By Allyn Boucher.
Allyn was all about connections. Connection to her husband, to her parents, to her brothers, and to the rest of us, her family, to her friends, including her animal friends. Connection to her writing, to her church, to her God, to her true self. Connection to the cosmic universe as she understood it. All of us fit in there somewhere, for we are all part of her loud, loving, and passionate network of connections. She made those connections fervently and boldly and sometimes boisterously. Yet at the same time, her spirit could be gentle and quiet. And it was within that precious serenity that she and I were able to entrust to each other the most intimate, fragile, and breakable parts of ourselves. For us, it was a safe space of complete communication and communion and trust that could have been designed only by a power greater than ourselves. When Allyn realized that her disease could not be reversed and that it was progressing all too quickly, she understood that she was on an uncertain and mysterious journey, a journey that could be frightening, but that ultimately afforded hope for another life beyond her current existence. Those whom she invited to go along with her on her sacred, mysterious journey were and still are recipients of her unfailing courage and strength, and of an unbreakable bond of love. That slanting, funny, somewhat dramatic signature of hers is etched lovingly and forever on our hearts. Sid, I know that nothing you did for Allyn over the years, and you did so very much, amazingly much, was ever done with the expectation of benefit to yourself. Rather, you did it all selflessly and with love and devotion. You deserve the gratitude of all of us who love Allyn, for you are the one person who made it possible for us to love her and be with her more days than we thought possible or than we deserve. You made sure her desires, both small and large, were fulfilled. You provided opportunities for her to visit all those people whom she loved, even when it meant traveling around the country to do so. Thank you for your tenaciously steadfast love and care. I also want to give special thanks to a wonderful family friend, really a part of the family for us, Ella Simon, who helped take care of Allyn from the time she was a very little girl on this earth. She and Allyn were uniquely and incredibly close friends over the years, a friendship which has continued to the present day. Allyn actually referred to Ella May as her other mother. In the past several years, when Ella May's and Allyn's physical challenges made visits and outings more difficult, they unfailingly upheld and supported each other with prayers and love, ever grateful for a bond that has endured for more than 6 decades. With regard to Allyn's connections, I have one more thing to add to that list: pizza, for which she had a truly great passion. Anyone who knew Allyn well understands that she and pizza had a very close relationship. She honestly did not mind having it every day. One evening a few years ago, during a lengthy phone conversation that covered many topics, we discussed what we had had for dinner earlier that evening, and I mentioned something probably about meat and potatoes and broccoli. And with great satisfaction, Allyn said that she had had pizza. No surprise. When we then talked about our lunches of earlier that day, once again, daring me to offer her a reprimand, Allyn boldly declared that pizza had been her lunch of choice. Again, no surprise really. Then, with a bit of trepidation, I asked about her breakfast. I breathed a sigh of relief, however, when she replied cereal. And then, in a somewhat sheepish, even impish voice, with that giggle of hers, and I can just imagine the mischievous grin on her face, she confessed that she had also had pizza, but only after her cereal. So it was for Allyn and pizza. And if the pizza industry ever needs a poster girl to promote unabashedly their product, Allyn is their girl. So the next time you find yourself with a slice of pizza in your hand, remember Allyn and the great gustatory delight she took in that concoction of cheese, tomato sauce, and perfectly made crust. In closing, I want to say to my pizza-loving friend, my loudly passionate and fervently loving friend, I will miss you. We will all miss you. But I'm convinced that you still are and always will be with us and part of us. In the words of Allyn Boucher, the poet, we can frolic with the gods as we discover who we are. We can drink from the well of kindness and sleep peacefully in the open air. We can take ourselves by the hand and explore our unguarded selves and find that the magic of the universe is within. That sounds enchanting to me. How about you?
We invite to the platform Laura and Andy and Adam for a musical tribute.
We're going to perform a song by Coldplay because that was one of Allyn's very favorite bands, and I hear her voice in the words of this song. And I just feel like I'm wearing too much black, and she wouldn't like it, so I need to.
That's me.
Yep. When you try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. When you're so tired, but you can't sleep. Stuck in reverse. When the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something that you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be worse? Lights will guide me home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. high up above or down below. When you're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know just what you're worth. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. Tears stream down your face when you lose something that you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face, and tears stream down your face. I promise you I will learn from my mistakes. Tears stream down your face, and lights will guide you home and ignite your bones. I will try to fix you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We invite to the lectern, Maddox Thomas.
Allyn, I'm not speaking up or down. I'm speaking into our hearts. Thanks to you, kiddo, I am Maddox the Grant. As you've heard it. Allyn loved life. Allyn loved the light of life. And that love became palpable in her love for animals. She could love a dog, a cat, a horse. She could love a squirrel in the tree or a bird on the wing. And in that love, she loved God. She loved her neighbor. She loved herself. She loved her world. She loved us. She had an uncanny sense of connection, as you've heard, that we are, all of us, family. Throughout her years, from the beagle days of our childhood, Star and Snuffy, to her elite Rhodesian Ridgebacks, Baybar, Casey, and Pax, from her beloved Wolfhound, Browligan, and her German Shepherd, Josh, to her Whippets, Asa and Pandia, and her rescue dog, Denver, from cats, Omega, Mozart, and Tuxedo, to her wonderful Arabian Sarkan. Throughout all her days, she loved the animals, and in loving them, she loved life. A couple of examples. She sat tall in the saddle, terrified and exhilarated when I gave Allyn her first horseback riding lesson. She got that look on her face most of you have seen at one time or another. Total focus, determination, fully alive, and oh so fully in love with that horse. And then years later in the ring, training her muscular man-child Babar in his reach to become a Ridgeback champion, she moved around that ring with the very energy of sunrise itself. It was truly as if she connected with something primal, some unspoiled Eden of life in her children, the animals. I think in the end, her love for the animals was so much more than liking a bunch of pets. She wrote a letter to me once when I was in need of a word of encouragement, and she said, "Maddock the Grat, to whom you've already been introduced, everywhere you go, on backpacks, walking your dogs, eating the gifts of life as if you were starving, you have a life-giving impact on all creation." But I think she was describing herself, don't you? She was writing of herself, for she not only loved life, she sought to give life, as we all know. Her love for a horse running and cavorting in magnificent power, her love for a kitten's tender cuddles, a dog's sensitive, warm presence. That love was a love for the light to which the animals were an undefiled witness. Hers was a love for their pure and innocent, perhaps heavenly, witness to the light not overcome by darkness, but absorbing the darkness, transforming the darkness, loving the darkness into life as the light seeks to love each of us into life. She can see clearly now what she began to see on this earth. She can see clearly now the night is gone. She can see us. She can see her dogs and cats and horses. She can see the light that shines. She can see God shining on and on and on as she, our Allyn, shines on.
Thank you, each of you, those who have shared, those who continue to share with the family as we depart from this place in just a few moments. This brings us to the place in our program today that we call the sending forth. This is also from Rumi. How should the soul not take wings when from the glory of God it hears a sweet, kindly call? Why are you here, soul? Arise. Oh, fly, fly. Oh, my soul bird, fly to your primordial home. You have escaped from the cage now. Your wings are spread in the air. Oh, travel from brackish water now to the fountain of life. Go on, go on. We are going and we are coming, oh soul, from this world of separation to union, a world beyond worlds. We ask that our guests remain seated for a few moments to allow the family to recess. The family will be in the lobby for a few moments to speak with you following this time.